So the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals overrules a district court judge in Texas and says that the Texas anti-abortion law can go into effect. Let's talk about it in today's video. Hi, I'm Mike Greiner. I'm a lifelong Democratic activist who's concerned about the direction our country is taking. If you share my concerns, maybe you could like this video and subscribe to this channel, maybe even click that little bell that will notify you when I post something new. So in an extremely well-written 113-page opinion, which of course I'll link to down below as always, U.S. District Court Judge Robert Pitman, who serves as a judge in the Western District of Texas, granted an injunction that stopped the Texas abortion law from going into effect. Judge Pitman was appointed by Barack Obama, and having read the opinion, I'm very impressed with his logic. Frankly, I can't really argue with it. As of right now, it's clear, until the Supreme Court says differently, that the Texas abortion law is unconstitutional. What's more is that both the Department of Justice and Judge Pitman found that the enforcement mechanism of the law, which basically makes it hard for people to challenge the law, is something that is not allowable under our constitutional system. Now, this issue, to some degree, was resolved by the fact that there actually is a Texas abortion doctor who publicly violated the law, prompting 2 lawsuits by disbarred attorneys to come against him. And I'll post a link to that video over here. Nevertheless, if we are going to have a judicial system with the power to review actions of legislative bodies as to their constitutionality, they need to be able to review those actions. They can't just kind of say, oh, we can't review them because there is no actual case or controversy, which is essentially what the Supreme Court said when they first allowed the case to go into effect. Now, injunctions are essentially a court order that tells somebody to do something or not to do something. And the process for injunctive relief is codified in Rule 65 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. And basically what it says is that injunctions should be granted when, 1, there is irreparable injury that will happen if they do not issue the injunction. 2, that the threatened injury to the moving party outweighs the harm to the opposing party resulting from the order. 3, that the injunction is not adverse to the public interest. And 4, that the moving party has a substantial likelihood of success on the merits. Now, when judges consider whether they're going to issue an injunction, they essentially have to weigh those factors and see how they fall. Perhaps the most important factor is the irreparable injury factor, because there are some things that are going to happen that you can't undo after the court has actually ruled on the merits of the case. That was the basis for Judge Pitman's ruling. Because after all, if a woman is pregnant and needs an abortion, and she's waiting for the court to issue some kind of ruling as to whether the law is unconstitutional or not, she might be waiting until after the baby is born. And then it's kind of not going to matter anymore, at least with respect to that particular woman. And what's the harm that comes to the state? There really is no harm. Basically, you'd have the exact same situation that you currently have. Well, of course, as we know since then, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, which oversees the Texas district courts, has reversed Judge Pitman's ruling. In a 2-to-1 ruling, which unsurprisingly had 2 Republican appointees voting to overrule and 1 appointee who's a Democrat voting to sustain the injunction, the Court of Appeals held that the injunction is not appropriate under the circumstances. Now, what's really telling about this ruling to me is the fact that it just minimizes what women have to go through in pregnancy. And moreover, it minimizes the mental and emotional processes women have to go through when they decide if they're going to have an abortion or not. Essentially, this ruling says that it doesn't matter what the woman thinks. She's going to have the baby, and that's not an irreparable harm. It doesn't matter if this woman is stuck with having the baby, because that's not some kind of harm that the court is going to recognize. In other words, I find this ruling particularly telling as to the view of these jurists as to women's rights. And it just continues the efforts of the conservatives on the courts to try to act as if the opinions of the women, the opinions of the mothers, just don't matter. Well, the truth of the matter is, I believe that the Supreme Court probably will overrule Roe v. Wade and the more recent Webster decision, and allow courts to make abortion illegal as they have essentially done in Texas. But until that happens, the law is clear. Abortion is a constitutional right guaranteed under the right to privacy in the Constitution. And as such, the Texas law is clearly unconstitutional. Well, Attorney General Garland has pledged that he's going to take this opinion to the Supreme Court now and ask the Supreme Court to reverse the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. While I certainly hope he's successful, I'm not optimistic. After all, this is the Supreme Court that already allowed the law to go into effect in the first place. I think it's likely the Supreme Court justices will bend over backwards to try to make sure that this law can go into effect, even while they drag their feet on making some kind of ruling on the merits, on their view that abortion should be something that's outlawed in this country. And the one thing that's clear in this whole process, unfortunately, is it means that the views of the women and the mothers is going to be something that is not taken into account by these courts. Well, if you agree with me or disagree with me or have any other comments or questions about the Supreme Court or this recent ruling by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, please feel free to leave a comment down below. And if you could like this video and subscribe to this channel, that'd be a huge help. I'll see you in the next video. In the meantime, let's hope for continued progress. Thank you.